Welcome to Talk About LA. My name is Steve Napolitano, and behind the camera is Brad Jacobson, and we're here today to talk about election season yet again, the perpetual season in California, and this time we're in the city of Redondo Beach. And while they just finished up their municipal elections, we now have their treasurer election because longtime treasurer Ernie Odell decided to retire about a little over midway through his term, and so there's about a year and a half left on his term, but that triggered the need for a special election. So the city is having the runoff election for the city treasurer position, and it's going to be a vote by mail, which is something different here. It's still going to cost the city about $160,000, but we've got two people running. We had three people to begin with. Don Esser, resident here in Redondo Beach, and Steve Diels, former city council member who just transitioned out of the council and is now running for the city treasurer's position. So we're going to talk with both of them and see what their views are, see what the qualifications are, and the watchword here, as we've talked about before, is reform, and we'll see what reform means to both of them. So let's start. Okay, there are two candidates for Redondo Beach City Treasurer. One is Steve Diels, and we're here with him today. And Steve, we want to just get started, talk about why treasurer?
It's an office that's broken and needs to be fixed. So ironically, people don't really know this, but there are no qualifications to be treasurer of Redondo Beach. Actually, there is one. You have to live in the city 30 days. And with that, if you can get elected, you get the keys to our $65 million portfolio. So the office has not been functioning in accordance with the mission of the treasurer, which is to offer the highest quality municipal treasury services at the lowest cost. That's clearly demonstrated by the fact that our treasurer takes home $116,000 a year in salary, plus very generous government benefits.
Well, let me come back to that. I asked the first question was why treasurer. As your background, now you're coming off of 8 years on city council, right? And so you, who are going to just run off and right off into the sunset, I assume, then decided, hey, the treasurer spot's open.
As an 8-year city council member, I was able to observe the office and how it ran. We have policies that protected our money, but the actual work required to conduct the business of the treasurer does not require this huge salary and this very large $580,000 annual budget. When interest rates took a dive and interest income actually dipped below the actual treasurer's budget, it became clear to me that we had a problem that needed to be fixed. So because I was a council member, I was able to observe that, and it's been my campaign of reform that's really educated everybody as to the disparity between our treasurer's salary and our neighboring cities, among many cities statewide.
Well, and you know, that's one of the questions that's been raised is that, well, you were on city council for 8 years, how come you didn't do anything about it?
I love that question. As a matter of fact, I did. So shortly after I was elected in 2005, the treasurer's salary had an automatic accelerator. It was up above $130,000. We reduced that salary from $113,000 down to $116,000 over the objection of the then treasurer, Ernie Odell. So to say that I haven't done anything is not true. We did. The problem with having two elected bodies kind of going at each other, the elected treasurer and the city council member, there's real conflict because they do have designated separate duties and responsibilities. So we limited the reform to the $116,000 because the present treasurer, the treasurer at the time that is, objected to the reform. Mm-hmm. So that's why reform should come from within. So when I'm elected, or should I be elected, I would immediately request that salary be reduced to a $25,000 level. So the reforms that we did in 2005 were not enough, and it's time to continue them.
And our understanding is that Ernie Odell is supporting Don Esser, your challenger in this race. Is that true?
I have heard that. I'm not really sure I understand Ernie's logic, because originally he stated that he didn't want any reforms in the office, and with the interim treasurer making a number of reforms. Ernie has now stepped towards supporting some of these reforms. I'm not really sure I understand Ernie's rationale. He made a commitment to the community to be in the office for 4 years. He stepped out of the office actually later than midterm. There's less than 2 years left on this 4-year term. It's cost the city now $160,000 in special election costs. And to me, this demonstrates the need for reform. The office that should be the most fiscally responsible in the city is the treasurer's office. Ernie's actions have not been fiscally responsible, so I really can't follow his logic, frankly.
Let's get over these qualifications. I say that because people can read them on the website, they're going to see them in the newspaper, but tell us what you feel qualifies you most.
I'm a 20-year CFO of a multi-million-dollar business in Redondo Beach. I've spent 8 years on the City Council of Redondo Beach, so I'm the only candidate with actual municipal experience. But my municipal experience includes time on the Audit Committee, a chairmanship of the League of California Cities, and membership on the Revenue and Taxation Board. I chaired the redevelopment agency in Redondo Beach. I served on the oversight committee, and that's just a few. My education in business includes my MBA. I'm currently a doctoral candidate in business right now. So I think the qualifications certainly exceed those in our city charter, which only require us to live here for 30 days.
And in terms of duties and time devoted to that, I also understand now that the interim city treasurer has hired a professional investment firm to oversee the city's investments. And so with that takes another piece of the pie out of the treasurers. You certainly have oversight, but the day-to-day oversight or investment strategy and such are now being farmed out. They're being contracted for. So do you feel that reduces further the need for a full-time city treasurer?
Well, actually, the investment work was done by full-time in-house staff. So the treasurer himself was not conducting the day-to-day investment duties. So what the interim treasurer has done now is replace the full-time person who frankly has announced his retirement anyway. So we needed to do something with an investment firm. And based on the qualifications that are stated in the charter, all it takes to get the keys to our $65 million portfolio is to get elected. And so, to put it bluntly, any knucklehead can get elected, okay? And so it doesn't mean that you have to have investment experience. So the actual duties on the treasurer might slightly increase because of the requirement to manage the outside firm.
And we've seen some upheaval, I guess to put it nicely, in some of our neighboring cities, the treasurer positions there, namely Hermosa, which saw their city treasurer resign, or in the process of resigning, and El Segundo as well. So in terms of reform seems to be the watchword of this campaign, but there seems to be a difference in opinion as to what that reform really means. You've laid out your case that it's the pay needs to be reduced, and that the duties and the hours be more in line with our neighboring cities. And then our understanding is that Dawn has put out there that the reform is really geared towards the assistant or the deputy treasurer's position. There will be a savings there. She's talking about $122,000 in savings. You've talked $300,000 in savings. Where is the difference there?
Well, if I were to address some of my opponent's comments, this is a runoff election, and in the first election, she wasn't about reform at all. So it's nice to see her learn and come around to my position. What her campaign has essentially been is, I'm going to do what Steve's going to do, only less of it. Steve wants to save $300,000, and she wants to save $122,000. Basically, the average budget of the treasurer has been $580,000 a year. That department can run on $300,000 less. So some needed reforms, some of which have already been done thanks to our interim treasurer. We didn't know what we were going to get when we hired him, but he's been doing a great job. So some of those are already saving money. In addition, saving $90,000 a year in the treasurer's salary by reducing it from 116 down to 25 would certainly take a big bite out of that. Now, where my opponent comes up with $122,000 in savings by cutting one person into a half-time position, I'm not sure how she's coming up with that number. You can see what the salaries are on the city's website, and cutting basically $22,000 position in half would save $60,000 and not 122. So I'm not really sure where she's coming up with that.
I think the issue there is probably whether it includes benefits or not.
Well, so with benefits, it's about a $150,000 position.
In talking about the reduction of the salary, now the understanding that's out there and that the city attorney has weighed in on is that it would take a charter reform. It would take a vote on the charter, a change in the charter to put that into effect. And in doing that, that takes time, of course. So in the meantime, if you were elected to treasurer, would you reduce your own salary and only take $25,000?
The process by which the salary is changed is not a charter amendment. Okay. The salary is changed with each new term with designation by the city council. So as I stated before, I already reduced the salary once from $130,000 down to $116,000, and that was done by action of the council. The new salaries take place with the beginning of the new term. To my knowledge...
beginning of the new term of the treasurer or new fiscal year?
No, the new term of the treasurer.
New term of the treasurer. So so who puts that into effect, the city council then? When, just as a matter of example, when I did this before, when we reduced the salary the first time from 130 down to 116, it takes place in the next election so that when the new people are running for the office, they know what it is. To directly answer your question about whether I would take a salary cut, I'm not sure if I can. I can ask the city attorney, but to my knowledge, I don't believe I can. Even the temporary treasurer right now actually has to take the salary because it's required by city charter. Well, sure, you have to take it, but you don't have to take it home, right? You can donate that back to the city. You can donate back to the difference to the city, right? You can say, you know what, deduct this much out of mine and just give it over here or donate to charity or back to the city, wherever it might go.
Well, I would continue to do what I'm doing now. I told the Veterans Memorial Fund I would give them $10,000. I just donated $3,000 to the Wounded Veterans group. We just had a nice event for them. So there are lots of ways to return that money back.
Understand the position also comes with a number of benefits that aren't necessarily part of the salary. Well, they aren't part of the salary, and that is a car allowance. Does the city treasurer of Redondo Beach need a car allowance? And a cell phone?
I have no knowledge why the city treasurer would need a car allowance. I know that the previous treasurer just lived a few blocks, and I don't know. It just points to the need for reform. When I say that the treasurer's salary should be reduced to $25,000, that means all cash remuneration for the job.
Something else that read in your answers to the Beach Reporter, where you talked about an independent treasurer can blow the whistle on waste, fraud, and abuse. And I guess you feel that there is waste, fraud, and abuse in Redondo Beach?
No, and in fact, people have drawn comparisons between our current treasurer's salary and the city of Bell, which is also a charter city. Our current treasurer's salary is on par with what the city council members were taking home in the city of Bell. So the issue of oversight cuts both ways. The treasurer's office needs oversight, but the treasurer is an excellent opportunity to have a responsible, independently elected person to keep an eye on our city government, so that if there is waste, fraud, and abuse, he can blow the whistle. It's kind of hard to pull anything over in Redondo Beach, I would suspect, because we have such an active electorate that keeps an eye on us. We've got really wonderful watchdogs in town. But really, to me, that is the job of the treasurer, is to be that financial watchdog for the residents.
And do you see that more as almost a controller's position? You see the city of LA where Wendy Gruhl capitalized on the position by doing these audits. Do you feel that the treasurer's office should be doing audits of other functions beyond what the oversight of the investment strategy and other, the collection of taxes?
I feel strongly, yes, and I think strongly, yes. So, I mean, this is something I feel and think needs to be done.
And speaking about the active community of Redondo Beach, we understand that Don has been active in the No Power Plant campaign, and you've been on the other side. Is this campaign for treasurer, is this a repeat or an extrapolation of those kinds of things, or is this strictly all about being treasurer? Is this an insider versus outsider thing, or?
Well, I can speak for myself. I see something that's broken that needs to be fixed, and we need somebody responsible in there to return integrity to that office. I don't think it's been operating with the mission of the treasurer in mind to provide the highest quality municipal treasury services at the lowest cost. Now, I can't speak for my opponent. I'm not inside her head, but I did read Bill Brand's email called Plan B, which is something that was underway after the loss of Measure A to try to influence City Hall and get other people elected. And in that email, it invited people to my opponent's fundraiser for treasurer. So how that group is linking treasurer to the power plant, I'm really not clear. But that's an ulterior motive that really has no place in conducting city finances.
And just for our viewers, Bill Brand is a current and newly re-elected city council member in Redondo Beach, and he is supporting your opponent.
Yeah, he's supporting my opponent. He's also a supporter of the founder of BBR, who sued
BBR being
a group called Building a Better Redondo, which is really a misnomer because it's really a what I call a serial obstructionist group. They sued the city, and ironically enough, the treasurer wrote a check to Bill Brand to Jim Light of BBR, and now Jim Light is supporting somebody else to be treasurer. Maybe they want more of those checks coming their way. It's a little disturbing to me.
So Steve, I can't help but come back to the issue of salary though, because I understand that it's not the term that you're elected, but the next term that the city would be able to reduce your salary. But I just want to be clear, would you be voluntarily reducing the salary on your own, given taxes and everything else, to the level of reform that you're talking about here?
Okay, so the timing for this is very tight. There is less than a year and a half left in this term. Mm-hmm. In other words, in less than a year, a new election is starting. Mm-hmm. There's a de minimis amount of time required to have the city council take action in time to get the new salary on the ballot. So what I propose is that the treasurer's salary be reduced to $25,000. I will be running for the treasurer for that job.
In a year and a half?
Yes, in a year and a half. My opponent does not support the salary reduction. Her proposal for reform is to cut city staff in order to keep the full salary. Mine is to absolutely cut the salary as part of an overall budget reduction plan to have the office conform with the mission of the treasurer, which is to provide the highest quality municipal treasury services at the lowest cost.
And now my understanding is that the ballots came out this week, the beginning of this week? They're
Yes.
out there now?
Yes, the ballots, well, they could be arriving in people's mailboxes today.
Okay.
Today is Thursday. I'm not sure when this is airing, but basically it's this week, and people should be marking them and sending them in as soon as
I
possible.
was going to say, and once you get them, you have until the time that you receive it, and when you mark it, to turn it in, and that's July 23rd is the deadline to turn those in to be counted, right?
Yes, the counting occurs on July 23rd. If you mail it on July 23rd, it won't be counted.
Can you hand deliver?
You can hand deliver ballots on the 23rd in the city clerk's office, correct?
Okay, there you have it. The ballots are arriving soon, if not already, and you'll be able to mark them and turn them in by July 23rd So City of Redondo Beach, we'll look forward to what the outcome is. And Steve, we want to thank you for your time.
Sure, thank you.